So you're aiming for IPMAT Rohtak or JIPMAT in 2026, right? And you know that the Quantitative Aptitude section can feel, well, like a beast? But what if you had a clear game plan? That's exactly what this is, a super focused, high-impact guide designed to help you crush the QA section. Let's dive right in.
Yeah, I get it. You look at that list of topics and it just seems endless. It's really tough to figure out where to even start. But hey, don't worry. We're about to cut right through all that confusion and give you a prioritized blueprint for studying smart and scoring high. Okay, so before we get into the nitty-gritty of topics, let's talk about the big picture. This is probably the single most important mindset shift you need to make. Success in these exams isn't really about solving ridiculously hard problems, it's all about solving manageable problems, fast. This slide lays it all out. The questions themselves, they're not that difficult, mostly in the low to medium range. The real enemy here is the clock. This is not a math marathon, it's a 100-meter sprint. And in that kind of race, the person with the best speed wins, period. This whole guide is built to make you faster. So, where do you start? Where do you focus all that initial energy? Well, there is one area that is without a doubt more important than all the others. If you can master this one thing, you are already well on your way to an amazing score. This is your #1 priority. And here it is. Arithmetic. 5 stars. Why? For 2 very simple reasons. First, a huge number of questions come directly from this area. And second, their doability is off the charts. These are the points that are just sitting there, waiting for you to grab them. It's the biggest, most gettable piece of the pie.
And here's your checklist for that 5-star foundation. You gotta get great at percentages, ratios, profit and loss, the classics. These topics are your absolute bread and butter. Mastering them is the quickest way to bank a massive chunk of marks. You need to make arithmetic your fortress.
All right, once that arithmetic fortress is built and totally secure, it's time to build out your toolkit. These are the skills and topics that are just non-negotiable if you're aiming for a top score. They're all about developing that raw speed we were just talking about.
Both of these exams are just packed with questions that are really complex calculations in disguise. So your ability to simplify things quickly is absolutely key. That means being a pro with fractions and decimals, really understanding surds and indices, and knowing your algebraic identities backwards and forwards. These are the tools that will shave precious seconds off of almost every question you face.
Now, here's another secret weapon for your toolkit: modern math. A lot of students tend to overlook it, but it shows up pretty frequently, and the questions are often shockingly easy. We're talking about problems you can solve in under a minute, some in just 30 seconds. That's a huge advantage.
And here's where you want to focus within that section. Yeah, probability and P&C are important, but listen to me on this. Whatever you do, do not sleep on statistics. Questions on mean, median, and mode are consistently some of the easiest and fastest points you can score on the entire paper. It's an incredibly high return for very little study time.
All right, let's talk about the 2 giants, number systems and algebra. The key here isn't to become a world expert on every single concept. No, we're going to be strategic. We're going to focus only on the parts that give us the biggest bang for our buck.
Number system questions can be a bit of a mixed bag. That's why this priority table is so critical. You have to focus your energy on HCF, LCM, and divisibility rules. Why? Because these concepts are super consistent and they pop up in other problems all the time. From time and work to ratios, they're guaranteed points. Put remainders next on your list and save things like factors and unit digits for the very end.
Now for algebra, for many other exams, algebra is this giant, scary monster. But for IPMAT Rohtak and JIPMAT, thankfully, it's much more manageable. You don't need to know all the advanced, complex theories. You just need to be absolutely rock solid on the basics.
So what are those basics? Here they are. Surds and indices and algebraic identities, we've seen them before, they're part of your speed toolkit. Linear and quadratic equations are also super common, and pay close attention to standard sequences. You know those formulas for the sum of squares or cubes? They are so useful because they can show up in unexpected problems and make them instantly simpler. Okay, we're at our final cluster of topics, and it's really important to think of these 3, geometry, mensuration, and trigonometry, or GMT, as a single connected unit. They all rely on each other, so you absolutely have to study them together. This visual shows it perfectly. Think of GMT like a three-legged stool. If your geometry properties are weak, you won't be able to solve the mensuration problems. If you don't know your trig ratios, you'll get stuck on geometry questions. A weakness in any one of these means the whole stool just wobbles. They are completely linked.
The good news is, just like with algebra, you do not need to go crazy here. Forget about complex proofs or obscure theorems. Your goal is to master the fundamentals, the basic properties of shapes, the core theorems, and most importantly, the formulas. That's more than enough to score really well in this section. So here's your final checklist. Know the properties of basic shapes like triangles and circles. Memorize the volume and surface area formulas for 3D objects. A lot of questions are literally just plug in numbers into a formula. And focus on 10th grade level trigonometry. It's often a very easy scoring opportunity that people miss because they get intimidated. Don't be that person.
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground. We've broken down the entire syllabus, we've prioritized all the topics, and we've built a clear strategy that's focused on speed. So now let's put it all together into one final, actionable game plan that you can start using, well, today.
This is your order of operations. This is your path to a great score. First, build that 5-star foundation in arithmetic. Second, sharpen your toolkit with lightning-fast simplification and those high-yield topics in modern maths. Third, make your smart, strategic bets in number systems and algebra. And finally, you'll add the finishing touches with the basics of GMT.
So there you have it. The plan is in your hands. But this isn't just information, it's a call to action. I want you to look at that list, think about where you can make the biggest impact the fastest, and decide which of these critical, high-weightage topics are you going to start mastering right now. Go get them.